So I don't usually upload at weekends, but as we've had so much going on over the past few days, I thought I'd bring you guys another transfer rumour video today. We've had some big completed deals go through, and as well as that, we've had some pretty big transfer rumours coming up as well, which I'm excited to get your view of. So with the season kicking off on Friday now, I want to know from you guys, how confident are you going into this season? I for one cannot wait for Championship football to be returning, but we've got a lot of transfers to go over in today's video. So if you do go on to enjoy, make sure you leave a like, it is always massively appreciated. But without any further ado, let's hop in to talk about some of the completed deals which have gone through. So starting things out with Birmingham, they've been busy in the past few days. They did complete the loan move for Chelsea defender Jake Clark-Salter. The 21-year-old comes in for the season. He has had previous loan spells out to the Championship, playing at Sunderland a couple of years ago. Not had the best time there, but I think since then he has come on as a player, and I'm excited to see how he can do. But the big news for Birmingham was they did complete the signing of Ivan Sunjic, the centre defensive midfielder, the under-21 Croatian captain. The deal in the end being worth about £7 million, so not a cheap one. And Birmingham in transfers over the past few seasons, you know, it's been a real roller coaster for them, you know, with them being under an embargo last season, being in trouble with the EFL. They put that behind them now and they really have splashed out on this player. I think that from what I've seen of him, he will add a lot more quality into that midfield, you know. There was a little bit of a worry going into this season for Birmingham that there weren't really that many technical players in that midfield, and if the new manager's looking to play a bit of a different style to Gary Monk, looking to be a bit more progressive through midfield, that may have been a bit of a sticky area. But with the signing of Sunjic and with Dan Crowley in there as well, I think they've got some decent ball playing midfielders now, and they'll look to impose maybe more of a passing style of play. The player is signed from Dynamo Zagreb and has a bit of pedigree about him, you know. He's featured in the Champions League before, played in the Europa League as well, and I do think it's a signing that Blues fans can get excited about. I'm really interested to see how he fits in. QPR have been another side who have been busy in the past few days. They completed the free signings of Todd Kane and Mark Pugh, both them coming over on free transfers, obviously both of them playing for Hull City last season, and a decent double deal there for QPR. I feel like Todd Kane, decent attacking fullback, comes in as a replacement for Daniel Furlong. I think that that's not a bad replacement actually, and the signing of Mark Pugh especially I'm very impressed with. Although he is at the age of 32 now and he's getting on a little bit, I was really impressed with his time at Hull City last season, and the signing of Mark Pugh especially I'm very impressed with. Although he is at the age of 32 now and he's getting on a little bit, I was really impressed with his time at Hull City last season. Really skillful, really good on the ball, looks to sort of soften the blow from losing a player like Luke Freeman, offers a bit of creativity from that left hand side. QPR also re-signed Jeff Cameron, who featured on loan there last season, another nice addition to the squad. Although probably the biggest deal that QPR have done is complete the loan signing of Jordan Hugill coming over from West Ham for the season. Now, I think this is a brilliant bit of business from QPR. When I was looking at their squad, I was a little bit wary of, you know, sort of where are the goals going to come from this season. After some of the players they've lost, you know, the strikers they had on loan there last season and selling Matt Smith, I thought they may become a little bit undone in that area, but they've beaten off quite a bit of competition in the Championship for the signature of Hugill this season. Although he didn't have his best time last season out on loan at Borough, where he only scored 6 goals, I think he can be a very effective striker. I do think he's an upgrade on Matt Smith. I think he's got all the hold-up play and physicality of him, with the added traits in the fact that he is fairly fast, he presses back lines very well. I do think he's got an eye for goal, although he can miss a sitter every now and again. Swansea completed the loan signing of Ben Wilmot coming over from Watford for the season. He spent last season loaned out to the Serie A. Can either play in midfield or in defence. At 19 years old, he fits into Swansea's recruitment policy, and he's going to be someone who's going to be looking to get on the ball and make those transitions going forward. And we saw West Brom complete the signing of Romain Soyuz for only £2.9 million. West Brom so far have picked up some absolute bargains in my view. At 27 years old, I think this is another quite sensible buy from Bilic there, and he's really building a spine for a solid Championship team. The midfielder can fill in a number of roles for West Brom, adds a bit of creativity, very good on the ball in tight areas. Last season for Brentford in the league, he picked up 6 assists. I think there's quite a lot of potential for the player to do well going back to West Brom. It's taken Middlesbrough a while to get going in this transfer window, but they have been fairly busy lately. They did complete the signing of West Ham youngster Marcus Brown. The 21-year-old comes in after impressing last season in League One at Oxford United, where he scored 6 goals and picked up 3 assists. Mostly liking to play in that attacking midfield position, although he can play out wide as well. And Middlesbrough also completed the signing of Blackpool left-back Mark Bowler. There was quite a bit of competition in this one as well. Brentford had been very interested in Bowler over the past few months, but it was Middlesbrough who have beaten them to his signature. I think this was an area where Borough needed to look into as well, and 2 decent deals they've done there. But guys, there were some of the completed deals which have gone through over the past few days. Let me know down below what you made of all the recent deals, but without any further ado, let's hop into some transfer rumours. And we're starting it out with with a bit of Preston North End news. I've been a little bit frustrated so far with the limited business that we have done, but a rumour that came out the other day was North End being interested in Celtic winger Scott Sinclair. Obviously, there's a bit of a void in our team at the moment after losing Callum Robinson, a player of real quality on that left-hand side. Not only just sort of a winger, but someone who was a really effective inside forward for us. That quality was always going to be difficult for us to replace, but in the past few days, we have been linked to Scott Sinclair, and there's a little bit to this story. Reportedly, we inquired about taking him on loan from Celtic for the season. However, Celtic will prefer to sell the player. They've slapped a price tag on him of £2.5 million, which for Preston probably isn't too realistic. Despite North End bringing in quite a bit in transfer fees over the past few seasons, I really can't see us spending that sort of money. Wages would also potentially be a bit of an issue for a player like Scott Sinclair. You know, I'd imagine he's on over 30 grand probably at Celtic, and he'd have to take a serious pay cut to come down to Preston. The only way that I could maybe see this deal coming through is if we're getting towards the end of the transfer window, Celtic are still looking to offload Scott Sinclair, no one's come in for him yet, and they are then willing to let him go out on loan. Although if it was to happen, I would absolutely love it. I mean, his goal scoring record at Celtic over the past few seasons has been absolutely phenomenal. In his 3 seasons at Celtic, he scored 25 goals, 18 goals and 17 goals. For a winger, those are some great numbers. Last time he was in the Championship with Swansea City in the 2010/11 season, he scored 27 goals from the wing in all competitions. And he'd be someone suitable to replace Callum Robinson, someone who brings goals from wide areas. North End do have the money to fund this one, it's just a question of if they actually want to. Potentially a bit more of a realistic deal for North End if that one doesn't come off is Ashley Hunter from Fleetwood Town. We have been linked with Hunter for the past few weeks now, scored 8 goals and picked up 10 assists for Fleetwood in League 1 last season. Preston actually played Fleetwood in a friendly the other day. Fleetwood beat us by 1-0. Ashley Hunter scored the only goal of the game and he really stole the show. He was the best player on the pitch that day, likes to run at players, cut inside and get a shot away. He's only 23 years old. He would fit into our recruitment policy and potentially maybe a bit more of a realistic signing than Sinclair. Middlesbrough have been linked to Charlton defender Anthony Dishdale in the past few days. However, Charlton remain confident in saying that the player is not for sale, and reportedly Borough have had a bid rejected for the right back so far. At 22 years old, I think he'd make a good signing for Borough, but fair play to Charlton if they do stand by that statement and don't sell the player. We've already seen, you know, a couple players move on in this window so far. I don't think that Charlton want too much more disruption into that squad. And speaking of Charlton, they're being linked to Bristol City striker Matty Taylor at this point in time. Matty Taylor, since making his move from Bristol Rovers to Bristol City, hasn't really set the world alight in the Championship. He's yet to score more than 4 goals in the Championship season. Last season scoring 4 and picking up 5 assists, although the majority of his appearances did come from the bench. I do feel as if this is an area where Charlton need to strengthen, and perhaps making the move to the Valley wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for either party. A report came out a few days ago linking Leeds goalkeeper Kiko Casilla potentially having to move back to Spain, with Sevilla said to be the club interested. Casilla had a bit of a mixed first season at Ellen Road, but in all honesty, I think it's more than likely that he'll end up staying. And a story came out the other day on Calvin Phillips as well. I'm not sure how much truth there is to it, but an interesting one nonetheless, with Aston Villa still said to be keen on the player, although they're not willing to pay more than £15 million for him. Leeds said to value him at double that at 30. Reportedly, Leeds have offered him a contract extension, which he is yet to sign. The player's only got 2 years left in his deal there, so obviously if he does wait out this season at Leeds, he'll be going into his the final year of his contract next season, and then he'd look to reassess his options next summer. So one to keep your eye on over the next few days, perhaps, if more comes out about this story. I think the good news for Leeds is that at this point, it is more than likely that Calvin Phillips will at least be there for the remainder of this season. Perhaps now that QPR have completed the deal for Jordan Hugill, this rumour no longer applies, although different types of strikers. Jordan Rhodes has also been linked with a move to QPR, potentially going there on a loan deal. He didn't really get all too much game time at Norwich last season. The majority of his appearances did come off the bench, but even so in that time scored some pretty important goals for them. And I do see Rhodes as a different type of striker to someone like Jordan Hugill, so there could be room in the squad for both of them. And Scott Hogan's another name who has been mentioned as well. Definitely a different player to someone like Hugill. I feel like a striker partnership between Hugill and Hogan could actually work out quite well, so if QPR were to get that one done on a loan deal, maybe not the worst move in the world. Man City forward Lucas Nemecha could be making his return to the Championship, with Birmingham and Wigan both said to be interested in the City youngster. He spent last season out on loan at Preston North End, and really, I mean, he split the fan base with what, you know, North End fans made of him. I myself rated the player, although it did take him quite a long time to finally hit the back of the net. I think he did bring attributes into the game which I think we'll miss this season. The best way to describe a player like Nemecha would be he'd have the quality to take the ball past about 6 or 7 players, and he'd get one-on-one with the keeper and hit it wide or something like that. It was just those little moments and those split decisions at key moments which is just holding him back at the moment from being a really good player. You know, technically on the ball, I think he is very good. It was just at times in front of goal last season, he was a little bit, you know, rash. Luton are interested in bringing back striker Isaac Vassell on loan from Birmingham. Since joining Birmingham from Luton a couple of years ago, he's not really had the easiest ride there. He's picked up a couple serious serious injuries and hasn't had the most game time for that reason. Although if given a run of games, I still think he could be a decent player for Birmingham. He gives them a bit of a different option going forward, you know, a fast player who can get in behind, quite similar to a player like Cherams who they have just lost. And with Birmingham being quite light on strikers at the moment, I'd imagine that there would need to be a couple of incomings for them to allow him to go out on loan. Oxford United winger Gavin White looked to be on his way to Cardiff City. Really exciting player, had a brilliant season in League One last time. He scored 9 goals in all competitions, has pace to burn going forward, looks to be a really effective player of playing on that last man if you can get a ball going in behind. I think the Cardiff squad is perhaps in need of that little bit more of creativity from wide areas, and White would be a really good option. Reportedly, they have had a bid accepted for the winger from Oxford. Crawley defender David Cisse has been linked to a number of Championship clubs, West Brom, Brentford and Swansea, all said to be interested. An attacking fullback who's only 20 years old, clubs have seen quite a bit of potential in this guy. And it looks as if Aaron Moy could be staying in the Championship with Huddersfield this season, with the club slapping a £20 million price tag on the player. Now, I for one have been shocked that there's not been loads of interest in this guy. Last time he was in the Championship, he was absolutely brilliant, controlling the tempo of a game. If he does stay, then Huddersfield have got some really good options in midfield this season, because, you know, I've been shocked that no one's come in for him so far. Hull and QPR have both been linked with Forest defender Joe Worrell, who spent last season out on loan at Rangers. Worrell has had a bit of a weird career at Forest so far. I think he splits the Forest fans as to whether they rate him or not. Forest fans, let me know down below if you'd be sad to see a player like Worrell go. Sheffield Wednesday are said to be interested in free agent Ben Marshall after his contract was cancelled at Norwich by mutual consent. The move to Norwich didn't work out for him, but he has shown throughout the years that he can be a capable player in the Championship. And Ollie McBurnie's potential transfer to Sheffield United is gathering more pace, with a few reports going around that a fee of around about 17.5 million could be agreed between the two clubs. I feel as if losing McBurnie, I mean, it would be a devastating blow for Swansea. In some areas, I do think that Swansea squad is a little bit thin, but on paper, their starting 11 is not a bad side at all. But after losing a player like Daniel James, to lose McBurnie as well in the same window, that would be a little bit gutting for Swansea, especially if that money wasn't to be reinvested into the squad. Swansea fans, let me know down below, what do you make of McBurnie? Do you think he'll stay or not? Wigan have had a £1 million bid rejected for Everton midfielder Joe Williams, who spent last season out on loan at Bolton Wanderers. Didn't have the greatest of loan spells there, although it was probably hard to stand out in that Bolton side. The season prior to that, he was out on loan at Barnsley, where I actually really like the look of the player. A defensive midfielder who could potentially be rivaling Ben Pearson for yellow cards, you know, is a little bit of a hothead in there. At 22, I can see why there is interest from Wigan there. I think he'd be a decent option going into their midfield. It's just a question of what price tag Everton are willing to sell for. Fulham are looking into bringing in Bournemouth midfielder Harry Arter on loan for the season. Would be a very tidy player in the Championship. He had a decent loan spell last season out at Cardiff, and he'd be a good option going into midfield, perhaps replacing someone like Seri. And speaking of Bournemouth, it looks as if Philip Billing is on his way from Huddersfield for a fee of around about £15 million. I don't know, I think that Huddersfield have done fairly well to get that price tag thing, you know. A player who's had, you know, a few attitude problems over the past few months, that's not a bad deal Huddersfield are getting there. Apparently Newcastle are open to selling Dwight Gayle this summer, with them lowering their asking price from 20 million to 15 million, and I mean, there's got to be some Championship clubs that are waiting to snap him up. In the past few weeks, we've seen clubs like West Brom potentially being linked with going back in for the player. Stoke have been mentioned, Fulham and Leeds United as well. He's one of very few players who pretty much goes on to guarantee you 20 goals for a season, which is, I mean, an unbelievable output. He was brilliant for West Brom last season. I don't think anyone would turn down signing Dwight Gayle, and for 15 million, considering some other prices that other strikers have gone for over the past couple of seasons in the league, that's not a bad price tag. Andre Gray's been another one that I've seen been mentioned with West Brom in the past few days. Don't really see this happening. I think the deal would be a little bit too expensive for West Brom, but who knows, you know, crazier things have happened in this league, and I mean, he'd absolutely rip it up if he came in, there's no doubt about that. And Jonathan Codger's another name who I've seen been linked with West Brom, probably not going to get the most game time out in the Premier League. He's a striker who has got 20 goals in him in the Championship, although once again, not really sure how likely this one is. But guys, there you have it. There are some of the latest rumours which are flying around the Championship, so if you've seen any others that we didn't mention in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below. And like I said, with the season kicking off on Friday now, I'm really excited for Championship football to be returning. So if you guys did go on to enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. It is always massively appreciated. Make sure you subscribe for some more Championship content. But apart from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.